And it's a hello and welcome, Full Court Africa family. As we get into our interview series, this is, of course, in an effort to continue to broaden the landscape of African basketball. We go long, we go wide, and we cover the wingspan of the African continent. And while we're covering, we're going to start in the East, where we have one of East Africa's rising stars at the point guard position. He just came off a campaign with the Nairobi City Thunder in the Basketball Africa League here in the Kalahari Conference in South Africa. And seeing that as a rising star and just coming off what he's experienced in the Basketball Africa League, it's my pleasure to welcome Derrick Ogechi onto the show. And Dio, as is known, welcome to Full Court Africa. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm very appreciative of you guys inviting me onto the show, and I'm ready to have fun today.
Well, let's hope we have a lot of fun. And let's start because, it's recency bias. You just come off your campaign with the Nairobi City Thunder, as I mentioned. Let's start with, did the BAL live up to your expectations in terms of player experience and competition?
Definitely. I mean, the whole experience from leaving here in Kenya, getting all the way to SA, and then immediately, right when we step foot off the airplane, we have a bus waiting for us outside, branded as BAL. We have police escort all the way to the airport. And then right from there is just professionalized everything. You're in a centralized location. You have meals, film room, all the equipment you need to recover. I mean, boots, massage gun, ice baths, everything. So like the experience from just getting off the plane to now that we're playing, scheduled practice times, scheduled shoot arounds, and then the game environment. I mean, I don't think I've ever been a part of anything that great. So besides watching, the NBA when I was a little kid, but, being able to be a part of something like that, I've never experienced it. So the full experience of the BAL was everything to me.
So let's talk about competition. Was it as competitive as you thought it would be? You guys came away with 2 wins, but just talk about where it ranks in terms of experience on the competition on the court.
Definitely very high. It's high level guys. Every team has, imports from wherever they are. Now that the league has G League guys coming into infiltrating the league, now the league levels rising. It's not just locals no more. Now it's multiple imports from not only the US or Europe, but now there's also African imports. And, the level of experience is very high, having played in the US in college in Division II, and then getting the experience in Europe and Spain. I mean, the experience here in the BAL is obviously, a step above. Every team is good. Every team can win any night night in and night out. The level of players they're bringing in, not only helping their team for that time, but also their local league. Because my experience with Nairobi City Thunder, every time we have imports come in, we also raise the way that we train, and then moving forward during BAL and after BAL also raises our level of talent, how we see things moving forward in the local league. So I can just imagine how every team is also doing that, where now they're growing, not just during the BAL time, the stretch of the month or 3 months that everyone has, but, throughout the years. And I just continue to see the local talent and the imports, the league just continue to grow.
Let's take it back for all of us, for me as well. So who are your biggest influences growing up in terms of who helped shape your love for the game and who shaped your style of play that we see on the floor?
First off is my dad. He's the one that pushed me kind of to play basketball. We're learning together. My dad never played basketball until I started playing, actually. So then my first experience is obviously watching Kobe Bryant. That's my favorite player of all time. I think that's my first memory, first basketball player to be like, all right, this is who I want to mimic my game after, and model everything that I want to do. And for him, he was like more of Kobe's mentality, more of like, we're going to work hard to get where we want to get to. We don't know how good I could possibly be, but at least we know that we're going to put in the work every single day to get to where we want to go. So I think it's my dad and Kobe Bryant, obviously.
Those are 2 great influences. And, since you're talking about Mamba mentality, maybe let's talk a bit about what your routine looks like as you're getting ready for competition. That does it differ? Do you scale it up? Because I know one thing that does always show itself prominently can be burnout before the competition. You push yourself a little bit harder,
Yeah,
and then come competition time, legs are out. So what does your routine look like?
Leading up to competitions such as the BAL, me and my trainer, we kind of do like a bell curve shaped workout routine. So at the beginning, we kind of start slowly. Then now we're pushing, ramping up. And then right when the competition comes, then we go back, try to mellow it out right before the competition starts because we already put in all the work. So for me, Monday through Friday is working out. Monday we have weight room, then practice, then shoot around. Tuesday's the same thing, weight room, practice, shoot around. Wednesday we don't skip the weight room, we go onto the track. Now we're getting in shape, getting some conditioning in on Wednesdays and Fridays. And then same thing, practice and then obviously shooting again. So that's really the routine leading up to competitions. And just trying to stay in shape even now that competitions are over, now it's just the local league. So now just trying to maintain the base, elevate my game and continue on working on new things that I can add to my game as well.
Okay, let's work with that. So, how would you define your game, and what areas do you feel, based on what you experienced out here, you're gonna be working on like the most?
I think my game has evolved slightly throughout the years. I think I used to be just a 3-point shooter, just a catch and shoot guy. I really didn't used to play defense, but now, I've obviously improved now that I'm a professional athlete. So I think 3 and D, and now, my game is evolved. Now I could be a playmaker, make plays not only for myself, but also for my teammates. And I think the next step for me is, start to also become a combo guard, not just off the ball, but also on the ball, being able to, run offense and make sure guys are getting the shots they need to get at the times they're supposed to get, and also, be a playmaker when it's time to come. Also take the next step, hopefully being a leading scorer somewhere or be a big part of offense, And then, like I said, continue to just keep making strides defensively, being able to not only guard the other team's matchup for me, but also guarding the other team's best player. The ability to be a two-way player is great, especially here in Africa. It can take you a long way. So for me, I think that's the next step moving forward.
What's been the defining moment of your career so far? What's been one of those highlights that you look back on already, and you're like, okay, I'm here. This is me. I'm pro baller, Do.
It's definitely my year in Spain. We had the ability to get promoted and move on to the next level, and it was a deciding game, and we were losing. So for me and my teammates, we knew we had to win this game to be promoted to the next level. So we locked in. For me, I went on a personal 14-0 run, scoring run. And after the game, I just saw the GM, the owners, everyone crying. They're like, "Oh, we're so happy we got promoted." And I was a big part of that game and the reason why we got promoted. So I think that was the time when I was like, "Wow, I actually made it. I'm a pro." Like playing in the games up until that point is like, "Oh, it's just another basketball game." But the feeling to, get promoted and win a championship with your team in my first year, that was like, "Okay, I'm actually a pro." Like now I know how it feels to be a professional athlete.
What's the biggest adversity that you face so far? I know for athletes, sometimes it's just a bad tournament, sometimes it's an injury. But
Mhm.
what's the one thing you feel you've had to come back from so far, and how has that defined your outlook in terms of your career?
For me personally, it was an injury. I tore my ACL back in 2021. I had just got back from, being with the national team. It was my first trip with them, but 2 days or a day before the games actually started, I didn't even get the opportunity to play. FIBA ruled me ineligible, and that was my first experience with them. So, coming from one of the highest to highest, playing with the best teams and best players and the best team in Kenya, being able to stand in, be with those guys and be able to play with them was the highest to highs. And going back to university, being a junior, so still having 2 years left and being one of the main guys during that year. And then 2 weeks before our season starts, I tear my ACL, and now I'm out for the next 9 months. So that was definitely one of the hardest things I had to do. Rehab isn't easy for those that have been hurt. Know and understand that you're in the weight room every single day. You're in personal training every single day. And sometimes you're not even with someone else. It's just basically you and the weights, trying to push yourself to, even bend my knee. Like my knee was completely straight. So those little aspects of, trying to push every day, like to get back to the form that you were at previously. is definitely one of the challenges, but it definitely formed who I am today because for the first time I was able to, sit back and watch basketball. Always, most times when you're playing all the time, you don't always get to see what other people don't see or what coaches don't see. But since I was still in my playing era, now I got the opportunity to, all right, sit back, watch, be a coach almost to a certain extent, and see all the little mistakes players were making right then. And then now when I had the ability to start playing, then I was able to be like, all right, this is what I saw when I wasn't playing. And now that I am playing, now I have the ability to change it. So it was definitely a growing piece for me, both on and off the court, with the ability to just sit back and see basketball from a different point of view. And most people see that when they're done playing, and I had the ability to see it while I still have the young legs to keep playing. So it was great for me.
Well, I was actually going to say that that must have been how you were able to, because not a lot of people will know that you were actually you traveled with the team NCT to Rwanda last year
Mhm.
in their debut season. So, at the last second you were unable to play, a clearance issue,
Yeah.
but that must have been really tough. And is that kind of how what allowed you to tap into, some of what you're talking about now? Is that how you viewed the experience? And that must have just really added to
Exactly.
your hunger.
Exactly. Funny enough, both the countries that we traveled to are Rwanda. So at that point, I was like, maybe they just don't want me to play basketball in Rwanda. But no, it was definitely a blessing to go see BAL 5 last year, and sit back and get to watch and see all the great players, and take it all in and be like, all right, I still need to improve, and we still all need to get better to be able to play at this stage and qualify for the playoffs.
Kenyan basketball is certainly on the rise, and there's something happening in the East there. Nobody can deny that there's certainly a buzz. What do you think needs improvement from a player perspective or just a league perspective, and how important is it for you to play in the Kenyan league?
It's definitely a blessing, like you've said. Basketball is definitely rising. From the moment I stepped here in Kenya, 2 years ago, you could just see the growth, not only like from the player standpoint, not even just the league, but also like the fans, the community base as basketball is just growing entirely. Guys are telling me every single game, like, this is my first basketball game. I'm so happy I came. Like, now basketball is one of my favorite sports. So now I'm going to continue keep coming. Here in Kenya, football is the biggest sport, obviously. Everyone knows you have story traditions, you have story teams. And now just to see, be able to be a part of, the transition to now where basketball is taking over, and we're taking the next step to rival football here in Kenya. So it's been fun. I think the next step for us is to continue building the league, having guys such as myself and like Tyler Ongwai who are outside, Kenyans diaspora, and playing in different leagues to continue to come back, continue to add other imports that want to come play in Kenya, continue to grow the talent and production of the league, and then turn basketball from it used to be a recreational sport here in Kenya to now professionalized league, not just Nairobi City Thunder, but now we have multiple teams that become professionalized, and I think that's the next step moving forward, because now people will see basketball not as only a recreation, but also a place where money can be moved around, a business. And I think that's the next style for us here in Kenya.
Talking about professionalism, one of the difficult things being a player, and you got the DO branding. We have to talk about it on your shirt there. It's hard for the modern professional player. I never had social media in my days, and
Mhm.
or they just started. But you got to balance the social media side with the keeping the main thing on the court. So how difficult is that to do? How important is that for you right now? And now, how does that play into your never miss a Monday that happens on the socials? I'm inspired by that, by the way.
Mhm. I appreciate. Thank you. But for me, African basketball, African sports in general, there's opportunity here. You know, as people see, if you look at social media, not only now, but also in the past, like, athletes would only just post their game highlights, or like, just the things that they're doing inside the game, or like if they're working out, like simple things like that. But if you look in the US or everywhere else, you see players, what they're doing, what they're eating, like the day in the life, like all those things that they're doing. And you obviously see that it helps them and impacts them also off the court with more, advertisement, marketing, and other things such as that. So for me, is why can't we do that here in Africa? For me, it was like, all right, how can I show other people that I'm more than just a basketball player? I've been to school, I've been to uni. I have a bachelor's degree, I have my master's degree. So now it's just about like showing more than I'm just a basketball player. I think for me personally, it was to create the brand Do, and now take the next steps to see other opportunities I have off the court. If that's marketing, different brands, if that's trying to get a shoe deal, just like the guys in the States. And like you said, it's a balance because now a whole bunch of eyes are watching you. It's not now you've elevated yourself to being more than a basketball player. So now more people are gonna see you, more eyes are on you. So now it becomes, all right, cool. Is Do making shots on the court? Because now his focus is all on social media. Or now, he's not doing any good today. Now the pressure's on him. Nah, I don't see any pressure. Basketball is a make or miss league or make or miss game. And for me personally, like there's no pressure. I work hard, extremely hard. Like you said, got to keep the main thing the main thing. Come in each and every day to make steps and progress your game on the court. And obviously, the talent that I have on the court is obviously going to help me off the court. So obviously, I don't want to struggle on the court and then be like, oh, I have to go to a brand and I'm not doing any good. So, I mean, it's a balance, totally like you said. So, you have to maintain your on the court status to help your off the court status. And, if you do well off the court, obviously help you on the court. So, I think as players continue to grow their brands, just like you said, keep the main thing the main thing, and throughout that process, if you continue to just be yourself on the court and then off the court, showing your personality, be who you are. Don't try to be someone that you're not, because then people will see the fake side of you, and it won't help you because now you're trying to keep up an act off the court and it's not going to help you on the court. So for me, just continue to be yourself. And like you said, never miss a Monday because, that sets up the rest of your week to, finish the whole week strong and continue to push every week because there's 52 weeks in a year, and if you can hit every single Monday, you're gonna keep pushing.
I mean, that's the best way to kind of take us into the final bit of the interview. And, this is going to be our quick fire one-on-ones. I'm going to throw some things at you. You just see how you handle them. You're supposed to read and react. That's what they say.
Let's do it.
The toughest opponent you've ever faced in your career?
Trey Jones, high
Trey Jones
school.
was
I think he's the
okay.
toughest player. Yeah. Now he's a Chicago Bulls guard, so I think that's a fair adjustment, a fair analysis.
Okay, let's do this. The person you'd like to play one-on-one against can be. I want to do it this way though. One-on-one, international, and then one-on-one on the continent.
Definitely Kobe Bryant. I have to play him one on one. He's my favorite player. I gotta see if he's legit, like what the stories tell. And then on the continent, definitely solo.
Oh
About
yeah, person you'd like to team up with most, internationally or local.
probably want to keep up with Michael Jordan then, just to see how his life, because Kobe and Michael Jordan are similar. So like one I want to play against, and the other one I would try to keep up with, just to see like how he did it. 6 for 6 in the championships game isn't luck. So I would like to learn like the skills that he had behind it. And then on the continent, definitely my boy AJ Majok.
Oh
He's been
wow,
doing this his whole life. He's a legend here on the continent. So be a good guy to keep up with.
amazing. Favorite venue to play, and I'm sure I know the answer to this one.
Here in Kenya, can't complain. Nyayo Stadium. It's a great place to play.
And then the final one is one word to define your game.
Confident. I think everything I do is pretty confident. I trust the training that I put in, the people that I'm surrounded with, my teammates, my coaches. I think my whole game is just surrounded by confidence. I think just confident.
Well, it's been Absolutely fascinating. Just getting into your mind a little bit. Sometimes I was a big stretch four, so I know I rely on
Hmm.
a point guard to just make sure that we get the ball at the right time in the right place. And I appreciate the fact that you were able to do that with some of the gems that you dropped today. So thank you so much for giving us your time, Dio. We look forward to seeing what you're going to be able to craft in terms of your career on the rest of the continent and beyond. And this might be the first of many, well, first of at least a couple here on the full court on Full Court Africa.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you guys for having me today.